Are we,
Now it's telling me, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. Can you hear what I'm saying?
so we're live on YouTube. How are we on Facebook?
Facebook says that we have a problem.
All right.
I'm going to end the video. I'm going to start it again.
There's a signal problem with
You're-
YouTube too, sir.
Your visual.
Yeah.
So,
So we're live on YouTube. How are we doing on Facebook? Okay.
Facebook says that we have.
So we'll, yeah, well, we're gonna restart Facebook here. Yeah, but he shut it down, so we're gonna restart it.
because you were live, it was working.
Yeah,
Yeah, then it stopped. So we had that problem earlier.
Now we'll see how it goes.
It's not even loading.
Hey, Mike, you're on that one, right? Oh, that one. Yeah.
I could try to go to the other source. The page is not loading.
Oh, I see.
I'm going to try to go to this one.
Okay. All right, we got 12 viewers on YouTube. Just hang on, issues here. Thanks.
The page just is not loading. There we are. Two, one. Tom, fix the camera.
Okay, supposedly we're good. Let me see it come through.
Head's cut off.
You want me to go down there again?
There we go.
Is that better?
A little bit higher.
A little bit higher.
A little bit higher now. Is it working?
It says end live video.
Nope, it's gone.
Still.
Okay, I can't see.
Okay.
There you are. Okay, we're back.
All right. Hey, welcome Team Whidbey. Sorry about the delays there. We'll see, it's not coming through on my device yet, but we'll see. Yep, you're good. Got a thumbs up. Okay, good. All right, sorry about the technical difficulties. We're having some reception problems in here, but we're working through that. So, so we will start off on this beautiful evening. We've got some airplanes flying out there, but I'll be able to, but that's no problem. I hear some Ford fans of freedom taxiing out there as well. So that's all good stuff. We're maintaining mission readiness throughout all these tractors, everybody out there. Obviously, a lot of challenges continue to get thrown in the way of us and our mission, but we continue to persevere. Likewise, challenges out in the community, in the state, across the country. So we'll talk about all that. So we originally scheduled this last week we scheduled it for now because we were really seeing trends escalating. The county has followed those trends, okay, but much lower numbers than what we're talking about Washington State. Naval Station Everett, Naval Base Kitsap, their trends were certainly much higher, and they continue to be higher than us. But we were really looking at walking up to the edge of the precipice of going back into HBCon Charlie. And right now, we're not doing that. Okay, we're staying in HBCon Bravo. Not only that, if one of the installations around here were to have to go into Charlie because of community trends, then I do not expect that NAS Whidbey would go that direction just because another installation does. So I want to make that clear. Last time when we went from Bravo to Charlie, I mean, everybody was elevating and everybody went into Charlie, and then everybody came out of Charlie at the same time. If somebody goes into Charlie, one of the installations, that doesn't mean everybody's going to. We're going to continue looking at this installation by installation, which is important. So first thing I want to show you is this, which is these are the case rates for Washington State. Okay, and so is that pretty good position there? Okay, so you know you can see here way back when that was March. Okay, we were down here, and obviously we're climbing up in Washington State, and we got up here. You know, all the concern and issues and everything that was going on back here when the case rate was down here. Okay, and then it came down, and now we've been seeing this over here, this case rate. Okay, and so the you know, this is where we've seen a lot of concern. We've seen that across the country, different states, different levels. Obviously, you know, between back here and here, there's different, you know, levels of testing effort and stuff like that. But despite more testing, okay, we are still seeing, you know, a higher positivity rate. So the number of positives per test. So there's a lot of value to what to the graphic, value to the data here. So just double check how we're looking for everything.
Facebook kid might be a problem, sir.
Oh, okay.
It's interrupting every once in a while, but you're still up right now. We're showing 250.
Okay, got it. So we'll keep seeing. Obviously, we'll try to provide the best town hall as we can, but we're having connection issues. So now what we have seen, basically, it was around this peak that we said, hey, let's have a town hall. Let's talk about what HBCon Charlie would look like if we were to have to go into Charlie. And then since then, in just the last week, we're seeing rates come down. Okay. So that's good. That's good news that rates are coming down, but we still need to be doing things right to keep that trend going downhill. So in the first 3 months of life in COVID, you know, the base had, you know, some positive cases. In the last 4 weeks, we've had more positive cases than we've had in the first 3 months. Just so you see, we're following the same trend as everywhere else. Now, what I will tell you about those is, I think I said this before, and it continues to hold true. Once there's a positive, we're not seeing the transmission on base. Okay, where's that positive coming from? Well, in the last few weeks, almost all the positives are coming from family coming to visit from out of town. So obviously there's more constraints on being able to go on leave, and so maybe naturally you have family members coming from out of town, and so what we've been seeing is that COVID is coming in that direction. The same holds true when you look at the Island County and their Department of Public Health. They're seeing the same thing. That's basically predominantly COVID cases are coming with people visiting from out of town, or from people who are traveling out and then coming back and bringing it. The transmission really isn't happening, you know, on locally. So that's good that the transmission isn't happening locally, but we do need to continue to evaluate if it's really that important for us to have that that transfer of people coming back and forth. Travel's risky, so if you can't get leave to go see family, consider that to be the same risk for them coming here, between the commercial travel and just maybe bringing it from an area that's got a higher rate. That's the risk there. So we talked about Washington State trends. Obviously, there's all kinds of news you can follow and all that kind of stuff. Here's the other thing that we have been using to look at Liberty. So with Liberty, the reds are those counties that are above 50 for the cases per 100,000 over a 7-day period. The yellows are 25s. And then the little up and down arrows are the increase or decrease from week to week. So we look at this. This map is on the Navy Region Northwest website. It's updated weekly so that command leaders and leaders within commands can use this to evaluate their Liberty policies week to week. What we're basically telling people is if the county's red, then you can't be going there for Liberty. You can cross through that county and hold your breath to get to another place that is not red while you're on Liberty. But we don't want you anchoring in one of those red counties and picking up something that you can't, that we don't want you to bring back. So with that, let me also talk about PCS moves, where we are on those. So that continues to be something that every PCS move requires a waiver. And so if you're up for PCS, you need to be getting that waiver stuff in early enough so that you're not getting that last minute decision in concert with your household goods and all those other things that go along with it. So you got to be talking to your transfer clerk right away, and certainly your chain of command to get that waiver request up. And then likewise, you should be talking to the My Navy Career Center to get any questions answered from the folks working there at the My Navy Career Center. So keep working the PCS stuff. We're making PCSs happen. We're ROMing people when they need to be ROMed after a PCS, but we're able to work through those things. But each of them requires all that additional effort. Let's talk about on the COVID situation. The things that continue to help us out are the non-pharmaceutical interventions. So that's the cloth face coverings. Where'd mine go? Mine was right here. Anyway. Oh, it's under my phone. Thanks. Thankfully, I have people here. So cloth face coverings. Okay. These things are still good. They should be snugly fit. Okay. This one, I need to get another one because my glasses fog up, but I'll get there. But this is good. Okay. Obviously, CFCs have come a long way in the last few months. And here's something you might have seen. This is a TRICARE graphic about what works and what doesn't. So this one over here is what works. It fits snugly. And then over here, you've got that exhaust valve. And so if you're going into the clinic, they won't let you in the clinic with an exhaust valve. Okay. And likewise, I just saw on a headline article that Delta Airlines, for example, is not letting anybody ride their aircraft if you have that exhaust valve, because basically what you're doing is you're just vectoring that unfiltered air straight out to the passenger sitting next to you or to whoever else might be right around you. And that's not the point of the cloth face covering. It's to protect others. And obviously it's been highly politicized now. I'm not going to get into that. Fact of the matter is that's the policy. You need to be wearing one unless you're in a situation where you can maintain physical distancing. Like when I'm alone in my office and when I have other people in my office, I only allow meetings in my office of about 3 people because we can maintain that physical distancing. And otherwise, if we're in areas that we need to maintain that cloth face covering, we need to do that. Hallways, common areas, all that kind of stuff that's prescribed. And obviously there's state guidance out there as well. All right. So let's get to a couple questions that lead us into some of these things. So let's talk about the schools. So right before, as I was getting ready, my last stuff to get ready for this, I got that text notification that the Elk Harbor School District is going to have their first day of school on September 14th. So I was able to get on the phone, talk with Dr. Gibbon. I know they continue to work through all the policies to try to offer the school in an appropriate way, and fully support them as a parent and as the commanding officer of the base here, Team Whidbey, support Elk Harbor School District and the other school districts' efforts to try to wade through this whole situation. You've got people on both sides of the spectrum and everywhere in between on school should be in session, school should not be in session, maybe the school should be in session, and they got policy coming down, and they're working through that. Obviously, it affects us, and if for example, school to be virtual or distance, I guess Kitsap said was announced that they're going to be starting virtual or distance learning, and we've seen that in like Pierce County, some of the schools over there. So if that were to come here to Oak Harbor and Anacortes and Coopville and all the school districts that people come from, then just like was happening in the spring, I mean, that adds a lot of stress. Okay. And we are not unique. Federal government, everybody's in that same situation. And so certainly that's an extra burden on the household. Anybody who's been watching this knows that we're not homeschooling kind of family, but we got to do what we got to do. Fortunately, I'm in a job where I can telework relatively easily, at least a couple days a week. I know not everybody's in that situation. And so as leaders throughout our commands, we need to be working on the individual situations to try to accommodate what we can. Now, hopefully, if we continue to see this downward trend, okay, so this is where it takes a community to make sure that this goes downhill and stays downhill. Memorial Day weekend, we certainly saw effects in the area, certainly up in Whatcom County on Memorial Day festivities. I don't know if connection with the 4th of July weekend activities drove some of this. I know there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Make decisions with the community in mind. It's got to be certainly for us to be able to maintain the health and welfare of our out there. So make the right decisions, and hopefully our kids can be in school. That's probably a stretch. Maybe somebody will disagree with that, but certainly that's what drives us in our decisions. So we're going to take some vacation here coming up middle of August. We're going to go enjoy some of the local stuff in areas that, as I look at the Liberty map, guess where we're going to go vacation? We're going to go physically distance ourselves over here on this peninsula where it's all green. I know Clallam and Jefferson and Grace Harbor counties are like, hey, don't come here. We don't want everybody to come here. But, when you want to get away, that's the thing to do. We can RV, we can go do that. But I encourage you to make the right decisions on all that. Okay, enough rambling on that topic. So schools, yep, we'll continue to work with the school districts to see where they're going. Obviously, they're going to make their decisions, and then we're going to work. We have to work as leaders to accommodate all that stuff. Will school age care facilitate the distance learning? We learned some stuff in the springtime with that. We will continue to try to evolve that to try to help facilitate where we can. And we've got some technology challenges we got to try to work through, and we'll try to work together on that stuff. So September 14th is a long way off. A lot of things can happen. They can respike. It can go downhill. So we'll continue to work those things as we see this situation play out. Let me talk about the initial reason why I wanted to do this town hall was, what is HP Con Charlie going to look like if we were to have to customer demand and additional precautions we need to take. So to take it to an extreme, what's HP Con Charlie look like this time if we do it? It's not going to look like it did last time. For example, the fitness center, as we've been working in Bravo with facilitating people coming in the fitness center, I do not anticipate this time that we would do any more restrictions. We have, and the state also has gone the same way. They're basically saying that 25% capacity for fitness centers, which puts our level, if we were to just follow their guidance of a decision of putting people away, which we just don't have to do because there's not a lot of people going in there. And so we've got great process to the current structure. So go ahead and go enjoy the theater. That's something that you could do. Other things like bowling and community rec, those things we're probably going to have to look at closing. And so we're not seeing a lot of utilization on the one hand, but also with the way some of those service delivery guidelines are going, we'd have to look at closing those things. If we were to go into HP Con Charlie, obviously all of our food outlets would be more curbside delivery and takeout. That's not unexpected. As far as outdoor rentals, the lemon lot, those kinds of things, we would offer that telephonically. And then if anything, we would do a curbside exchange, whether it's handing paperwork or for outdoor rentals, providing that delivery of product, then we could do that as a curbside coordinated delivery by appointment. Liberty Center, I really want to keep the Liberty Center open. When you think about the 1,600 some sailors in barracks and their needs, it's good for them to have a gym to go to, and it's good for them to have a Liberty Center to go to. But obviously, there are things in there that are closed. The little music recording studio has been closed through this whole time. But other things that we can appropriately provide, we are doing that. So the side continues to be active duty only. Okay, Pack Beach and Jim Creek are not that way, but those are also places that are secluded, well away from things like flight lines. Okay, so if I were to open up Cliffside to and other places, and we just can't have that here next to the flight line, and I'll just stay in my own little spot. I get it, but there's people who wouldn't. We've got the fleet store where they'd be interacting with, or say to keep Cliffside active duty only. Playgrounds, believe me, okay? My kids are itching for playgrounds, and when the counties had playgrounds open, we got them out there. Word I got today is that state parks and Island County playgrounds are closed, and so the base ones are closed, hunts are closed, and they will remain closed. Yeah, I get it that some people get out there and use them, but realize that they are closed, and I get it. That's an issue. Okay, there's other playgrounds you can use. They're called trees and beaches and things like that you can take your kids to, and that's what we try to do with our kids. So certainly. That's tough, but if the ones in the community are open, you can use them. If they're closed, they're closed, and certainly in our hunt community, they're closed, and that's the way that is. And I did see, what was that? It was like a 0 to 5 scale of the risk of catching COVID at different things. Playgrounds was up on. Pretty high on that list, which surprised me because I think it's outside, it's in the sun, and but unfortunately, playgrounds is one of those that is riskier than I thought it would be. Okay.
Sir, our signals are going in and out drastically.
Yeah.
They're shutting down both of these, so
Okay.
people are having a hard time following them, I think.
Okay. All right.
Just to give you a heads up.
Yeah. Got it.
In fact, right now, I'm not sure if Facebook is even working or.
It's not.
Yeah, it keeps going in and out there.
Under the current structure of how we're delivering it. The theater, that remains open.
Okay, so there's a lag.
Yeah.
I don't have any video here, so I don't know what we can hear.
Yeah. Okay.
I can start it and stop it again, see if.
Well, I'm going to keep going.
I'll
And
just keep
well, the YouTube one,
It just is going in and out, sir.
yeah, but then can people watch it later on our YouTube channel?
They can. I think it'll probably have those. It might
It'll
have those interruptions in
still
there
have those
because
okay.
it loses that. But
Yeah, we'll push through it and keep trying, and then we'll wrap it up, and then answer questions if people have them separately. Okay. As always, you check our website for the updated matrix on services, but that's basically kind of a combination of how things are now, but also the HP Con Charlie mindset. The bottom line is, if we go into Charlie, it's not necessarily going to look like it did in the past. We're going to decouple services from Charlie, basically trying to offer the services on these. Let's see, Housing Service Center. What I'll tell you right now, so we're fully staffed on the Housing Service Center, which is a big improvement. We've got housing inspectors and we've got staff there now as a result of all the stuff from last year. And so they are involved in the buyback inspection. So when you turn over a house to Hunt does the change of occupancy maintenance, the COM process, and then once the maintenance team is done, the leasing team buys it back. And so our Housing Service Center folks are involved in that buyback process to make sure that we are going to end up having a house that meets our expectations. As far as move out, if you're getting ready to move out, there's a pre-move inspection that Hunt does, and we would like our Housing Service Center team to be part of that process. And so if you would like the Housing Service Center staff to be part of that process, please reach out to them and let them know. And you can get on your Navy Life PNW app to get the Housing Service Center contact information. And then, so as far as the Service Center staff, it's appointments only, telephonic counseling that we're doing there. If you saw my little promo video late last week, I was at the Fleet and Family Support Center where the Housing Service Center staff is, amongst others. So you can see that we're, for those who have to go in there for something by appointment, we've got processes to go in there, but really everything in there is being delivered telephonically and by webinar. If you're a Hunt resident, you would have seen an amenities email come out recently. Basically, for the fitness centers, the heavy sign a liability waiver, you get a little green band, and there's a sign-in, sign-out process there. And then while we're on the Hunt topic, let me just explain something else that they've got going on. So here is Victory Terrace. Okay, if you live on Robin. That was Robin, right, James? If you live on, Robin here from Clover on down, there's going to be a paving project on that residential street. And so what that is okay. So anyway, that's coming up soon. And so all the residences along there are being notified of that paving project. That's coming up starting right after the 1st of August. And so there'll be obviously some impacts there as they do paving of that street and some road maintenance. And then later on, there's going to be one in Mailer Point, but that's later in the month of August. And it's only in this Crater Loop and Mount Erie. So just a few residences, and there's some other details that those residences will get via letter from Hunt on their door. So the main one is Victory Terrace on Robin, right?
Canary and Clover.
Yeah, on Robin between Canary and Clover. That's going to be going on right after the 1st of August. Okay. So again, Hunt's going to be communicating, continue to communicate that to you all there. Okay. Let's see. Any questions coming in on the chat for those who can't stay connected? Okay. I do have a question about, let's talk about the CDC for a little bit. What can the base do to help out spouses who own local businesses but can't go to work due to CDC closure? Can the base promote businesses by spouses and veterans? So one thing, there are organizations out there that do support spouses as entrepreneurs. And so I do encourage you to connect with those. We cannot offer free advertising and all hands emails. Okay. You can talk to, if you have any questions about what can be done, then you can contact the Region Legal Service Office. But basically, we can't, just because it's a spouse-owned or a veteran-owned business doesn't mean that we can promote that business. But there are ways, I know, through community organizations that you can do that. As far as the CDC closure, Yeah, I get it. And all across the state and the country, CDC child care facilities, if they're even still open, are operating at less than their 100% capacity. So this is a challenge everywhere. It's a 6-month wait out in town and way too expensive. I agree with you. And it's a serious hardship. Why is the base focusing on opening golf, bars, bowling alleys, etc.? Who's going to work there if their kids go to CDC? Well, I can tell you that we have plenty of staff who don't rely on the CDC so that we can open the golf and the bowling and all those other things appropriately, which is what we need to be doing. Okay, we need to provide as many services as possible, and we've got plenty of staff who can do that. So what can we do as far as the CDC? Well, we had 330 child. There's no way we're going to get close to that number under COVID precautions. We've gone from over 140 to 180 in the child care center. And honestly, even if we were going to HPCon Charlie, I don't expect that we would see a reduction in that. There is a policy situation that we're working through that could affect our child care capacity, but we're working to try to hold on to those 180 some spots that we have. And so now it really goes back to a root problem that we have in child care pre-COVID, that we didn't even have enough capacity to serve the needs of our community to begin with. And so back in February, before COVID, we started working through community partnerships. And so, and coincidentally, Island County is also started trying to work a project of how to increase child care capacity in the county, because this is something that affects, and just like housing, we do not ever plan to create 100% of the capacity to be able to suit our childcare needs, just like we're not going to build 100% of the capacity for housing. There is community partnerships that go along with this. However, we do try to find ways that we can build capacity on the base as well, certainly through the CDH program in itself. So, like I said, we started a project back in February. We're at a phase of the project where we're going to be looking for more community involvement in developing solutions over the next couple of months. So I will be putting out information through email, Facebook, and such to see who wants to be part of that process. And so in the next couple of weeks, I'd look for that. And then after the invitation, we'll follow up with a webinar to talk about what the project is, what the current child care situation is, and then try to generate some ideas through listening sessions with spouses and other folks internal. We also have state, local child care organizations, nonprofits, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, all these other entities that we're trying to bring in to help us with ideas of how to create more capacity out there. So it's a constant struggle for a lot of people out there. I get that, and we'll continue to work through our prioritization schedule. And I know that that's not the answer a lot of people want to hear, but that's the situation. So there's been no communication on the child care situation from CYP unless we call and ask. Well, frankly, there hasn't been any change. Okay, so it's really the office doesn't like answering questions. Well, they're going to provide the same answers, and so it's kind of hard. Now we should be able to provide those answers in a way that's cordial and professional. So if you're not getting cordial and professional interactions, then please contact me so that we can address that. But I do know I talked to other people out there who do say that the child care staff is very understanding and supportive, and so I'm getting different stories there. But if you have a problem with somebody who's answering your questions in the wrong way, please let me know so that I can address that. If schools go back to virtual learning, will squadron CEOs put in policies for dual single parent sailors? Certainly that's something that we have to address. So generically, I can say across the flight line that squadrons are going to be in different situations. So what might work in one squadron might not in another. What might work in one work center might not work in another. And so we have to look at that by the situation. And certainly if it crosses commands, because they're dual military, I would expect one would be in an operational squadron and one is in a shore command. And so those command leaders need to be working together to try to help resolve how that situation can work and we can maintain our mission readiness. Let's see, with the possibility of school returning in class this fall, I know some teachers utilize the CDC for childcare. Yes, good point, Sarah. So as we look at that, we've got to look at how many of our childcare customers have childcare needs to then support whatever in-person teaching might be going on in the school district. So thanks for bringing that up. And I'll have to get back to you on, as the school district goes to their decision of how they're going to do their teaching, what do we have to do to make sure that, because like direct care for childcare staff, for example, if we have a childcare staff member who has a kid in childcare, that kid has a higher priority than a single parent active duty. And the reason is because if we can provide care for that one kid and have that childcare person in childcare, that childcare person can provide care for 6 to 8 kids. So it's a net gain in that respect. So we'll get back to you on that. Okay, and that was the stuff from Hunt, which I already talked about. Okay, a couple questions coming in. Will we test randomly? Will that include GS and contractors? So yes, we are doing what's called the surveillance sentinel testing. It's ongoing. It started in early July. It will expand as testing kits become more available. Civilian personnel may be tested depending on what their job is. And so the sentinel testing is focused just in certain areas. It's not like, hey, every 10th person coming through the gate's going to get a swab up their nose or anything like that. It's focused on certain specialties or certain commands. And so that will continue. And I will tell you that we haven't seen it here, but across the sentinel testing that's going on across the Navy, we have seen some positives come out of that. And so basically that goes back to the asymptomatic carriers of COVID, which also, when we talk about those non-pharmaceutical interventions, the physical distancing, the cloth face coverings, this hand sanitizer, the way you have to approach your life, at least the way I do, is that I'm carrying COVID. You have to assume that you're carrying it in your interactions, so that you're thinking about that when you're going to a meeting, when you're having an interaction with people outside. If you're walking down the sidewalk side by side, then first of all, why are you walking side by side? And secondly, why are you not wearing a cloth face covering even though you're outside? And there's that whole, 15 minutes of close contact, all that kind of stuff. But just think about, what is my contact tracing going to look like if I am suddenly a person under investigation? And was I doing all the right measures to make sure that I'm not transmitting it? Because I'm going to assume that I am COVID positive. Okay? All right. So I think I've covered all of this material. So I just have a few more things. Oh, by the way, Seaplane Base, yesterday I think we lost power, or Monday, we lost power at Seaplane Base, got over there and took out power, just part of 2020, I guess, on Seaplane Base. You got to get on your Puget Sound Energy app or on their website, okay? We do not control that. It's Puget Sound Energy that provides that service, and they provide the maintenance, okay? It certainly isn't Hunt, okay? I know that some people out there are like, darn it, Hunt, you shut my power off. Well, it's not Hunt, okay? And it's not the base. Puget Sound Energy provides that service, and when crows attack transformers and get blown up and blow out our power, then I just pull up my PSE app and I can see, and then I can ask it to get me updates on the situation, and they'll text me updates. So I encourage you to do that. Okay, talked about CDC stuff, talked about all that. The clinic, got a couple notes from the clinic. We talked about masks, pharmacy delivery truck. So just like we have the food truck that goes along the flight line from the galley, providing food, we also have pharmacy delivery. And so that's on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think it is. certainly follow Naval Health Clinic Oak Harbor on Facebook, and we send out the Thursday emails to the all hands. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, so service members can pick up their medications and their family members' medications. You just have to have a copy of the dependent's ID card for that. And then also, there have been some staff turnovers over there. And so just to make sure everybody's aware, MHS Genesis, again, is a website that I go to when I need something. I need to look into my record or into my kid's record on one of their previous visits, or, and you can also, through the patient portal on MHS Genesis, you can reach out to your provider. And even if your provider's departed, a nurse can attend to the needs for a lot of these things, and you can set up virtual appointments through that. So please use those products to make sure that you're getting the continuous care that you need. If you're in unaccompanied housing, or if you have people who work for you who are in unaccompanied housing or the barracks, please fill out the resident satisfaction. We did last year. We've made some progress in providing the customer support we need. We've also been doing stuff in the barracks to make sure that we're living in an environment that is appropriate, and all hands are needed to be able to do that. But certainly there's some elements of customer service and maintenance that needs to get fixed. And so that survey is your opportunity to tell me how we're doing on that. If we're making progress on that, if we still have a ways to go, if we're not making progress, I need your input as barracks residents to tell me how things are going there. One of the things on the child and youth programs front is we've got a new school liaison officer who's checking in tomorrow, or day after tomorrow. So looking forward to getting the new SLO on board. So she'll be integral, obviously, in that communication, even though I do talk with the school district superintendents. Obviously, that's SLO, it's a full-time job, and that'll be good. And it's always a good one. Thanks. And so also, as school gets into session, okay, Oak Harbor and Coopville school districts have been filing for impact aid every year. So they get money from the federal government because of all the federally affiliated kids who go to school. Anacortes School District just filed for the first time last year after we worked with them on it. And so, so what you'll get if you're a parent is you'll get a survey delivered to you either electronically, or it'll be in the backpack if the kid's going to school in person on paper. And you need to fill out that survey so that they can go back and they can verify all the federally affiliated kids, and then that number equates to a certain amount of money they get about a year or so later. So please, if you want more funding for your schools, make sure you fill out your survey. Okay. Oh, back to childcare for a second. Utilization. I mentioned there's about 180 slots, and the way we have to scrutinize every slot for care is through that prioritization: first responders, direct care staff, single active duty, dual military with GS, et cetera, all that kind of stuff. And so we go through all that effort, talking with leadership, getting the paperwork, and saying, okay, you're working Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You need care Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I've talked about this before, I know, but and then the kid doesn't show up for care. Okay, I get that sometimes kids get sick, sometimes something happens, but chronically we're seeing well less than 100% utilization. So what does that mean? That's 100% utilization of the 180 spots that we have in the CDC. So what does that mean? Is that means, by about 7:30 in the morning, you can call the CDC and you can see if there's a spot so you can drop your kid off. They have to be registered and all that kind of stuff, but that drop-in care is available every day, depending on the age, but pretty much every day there's availability. What I'd rather have is better communication with everybody. So if you're not going to need that care for a certain amount of time, you can go ahead and release that spot to somebody else who needs it. And so we can work that out. So please, on the one hand, if you have a spot and you're not going to use it, please let our CDC know so somebody else can use it. But otherwise, if you do need care, please call each morning to try to get care. This question, has the base considered building a parking garage or two? I've thought about it as I've driven around. If that answers the question, yes, then that's okay. But now over at Kitsap, they are moving forward, trying to get a project to build a parking garage. They've got a different situation over there. Over here, yes, I realize parking is an issue because an ideal situation for a lot of people would be to build a parking garage right next to the hangar. You can pull into the parking garage, multi-story, and then you can just walk right over to the hangar. Never going to happen here. And I foresee that we'll never get the funding to build a parking garage. I'd rather have that funding to build another child care center and hire child care staff and make sure people are walking from parking to work. With every project we do try to make sure that we're building more parking. If you look at the north end of the flight line with the next gen jammer, you'll see more parking along the north side. On the south side with the PT40 building, so there is new parking being built. I will tell you also that I know that the parking around the theater is probably the most problematic. There's the parking across from hangar 5 and 12. You got to walk all the way over to where the fitness, across from the fitness center and all that stuff. I get it. I'll also say I've been in places where you had to walk a lot farther than that. But the fact of the matter is now we're not going to ever get a parking garage because we need to use that money elsewhere, like making sure that our taxiways are not falling apart, and if we could build more childcare centers. Okay, barbershop open for business. Got great measures. Highly recommend using them, especially if you're in uniform. I do want to work with the command leaders out here to see if we're ready to rescind the haircuts. So the lack of transmission rates, the measures that the Navy Exchange barbershop have, all that kind of stuff. I don't see why we need relaxed haircut standards. There was a great Marine Corps leader I think it was either World War II or Korea that persevered in a great battle, and after a long period of time, they said, what was the key to your success? It was haircuts. It was the standards, the basic standards. And so we need to keep those basic standards going. PFA, that's been suspended. I think that we probably could have worked out a way to do it. But anyway, whatever. It's been suspended for this period of time. Maybe walking from your parking is going to help you out, but to stay fit. But we got to stay fit. We got to maintain our health. We got to maintain our mental health, all that good stuff. And all that. So barbershops are open for business. Sorry for that rant. Let's see. Talked about that. We got homecoming coming up soon. VAQ 130 is going to be coming home from their Eisenhower deployment, record-setting deployment, being out at sea for much greater than 200 days. So God bless them. Haven't had a port call. They were able to frock all their sailors in person because they've been in a bubble for over 200 days, and they're coming home to a different world than they departed from. And so, their homecoming is going to look very similar to the ones that we've had recently. Their fly-in is going to be very close family members, physically distanced from each other in the hangar to welcome the aircrew when they fly the jets in, and then the airlift is going to be that kind of school pickup process that we've been doing, where the personnel will come out of the terminal, and there'll be a process for family to pick up that service member and then go home for the homecoming. Okay, but we're in touch with VAQ 130 in the wing, working through that. Counseling. Oh, and I forgot the lead-in that Master Chief gave me. Sorry, before I get to counseling. This is an official uniform. If anybody was on the other ones, on all the chat that went on with that, yes, this is an official uniform. But anyway, counseling. So telephonic non-medical counseling, clinical counseling is still available, but we're nowhere near meeting the counseling needs. We already had with the counselors that we brought on. We've already had. Making progress on getting the counseling capacity that we need. And then in COVID, the situation right now is that there is no approved virtual platform to do virtual counseling. We can only do telephonic, non-medical clinical counseling, okay, through Fleet and Family. And they can only do the telephonic counseling when they're actually in their office. And with the distributed workforce, they're not in their office every day. In the days that they're not in their office, there's all the background case management work that has to be done. And so they're doing that when they're not in their office. And then they're providing telephonic counseling when they're in their office. So certainly telephonic counseling isn't ideal, because the person getting the counseling, it could be playing PlayStation or running errands or doing, instead of focused on the counseling session. So it's not ideal. We are working to try to get an approved virtual counseling platform, but we're not there yet. I will say that the webinars have a good number of users in the webinars, certainly for the resilience oriented webinars. So please continue to use those webinars. Again, Navy Life PNW app and the Navy Life PNW website to get that information, and also in the all hands emails. All right. So I think that's all the updates. Nothing else come in? Okay. Well, I don't need to talk just to talk. I've done plenty of that. So I appreciate those who were here. Hopefully the connectivity issues weren't so great that that you did get something out of it. As always, if you have any questions, please send them to the NAS Whidbey Public Affairs Officer website, or PM through Facebook Messenger. So in the end, we're maintaining the mission readiness. We got folks deploying, folks coming home. We're doing the training that we need to do around here, and we're doing the projects that we need to do around here. Construction continues. We've got a lot of construction projects. I was just walking around seeing those. All this stuff is going on. We are facing the next big inflection point with determinations on what's going to go on with schools. I know that doesn't affect everybody. It kind of does in the end, because if we have to make some mitigations for certain people because of the way schools are going, then that does affect everybody. Because as a team Whidbey, we have to kind of pick things up for everybody, depending on everybody's individual situations. So continue to individual decisions with the community in mind. Continue to follow all those protocols to keep everybody safe and for us to maintain our mission readiness. So thanks for being with us here this evening, and I look forward to another time later, maybe at the end of August. We'll see. Thanks.